Cast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, SPC participants. We're going to go ahead and give you the results, the recognition of the winners of this year's competition, walk through some of the last month and 2 months for some of you, the data that you are seeing in that spreadsheet, some of the stuff that is now visible to you that's been hidden for some of you now for a few months that you've been waiting to see. So we're going to walk through what that looks like and then give you the overall results.
Very good. Thank you, Bailey. I'm going to jump in real quick to the spreadsheet, give you some updates. So recently put in the final set of billing, and you can see if you look here in the where my cursor is moving around and towards the middle left side of the page, you will see 3 different June weigh dates. You might find that confusing. Well, those dates correspond to when certain cattle left the yards. So some cattle actually have no June weigh dates because they were harvested in May. Some had just a handful of days, hence the 6/6 weigh date. Some went a couple weeks into June, 6/13, and some went a little deeper down into 6/20. So it depended upon your final day in the yard, and hence then when it came time for the yard management to figure average daily gains, those different groups of cattle have different days on feed for the month of June, and hence you had to average daily gain is figured the same way, just with a different number of days involved. And so as you see these cattle as they get to the tail end of their feeding period, oftentimes cattle quit gaining very well, and that's what we had in this case. You have some of the calves that got down, and you can see a number of calves still gaining north of 3 pounds a day, and that's wonderful. But a number of calves actually were gaining less than that. In fact, in a couple cases, we actually had some calves, I guess as it got a little bit hot, just quit gaining. In fact, some lost a few pounds between the previous weigh date. Hence, why you see a few negative average daily gains. And some might ask, why does the feed to gain look so wonky then? Well, because when you have a negative average daily gain, the feed to gain, just the arithmetic gets a little peculiar because it's going to go negative because you're going in the wrong direction. But the most important piece is we have the accounting of how much feed was consumed. That's the most important piece there, just from a dollars and cents standpoint. So as we scroll over, again, as always, you get your June monthly expenses. A couple things to note. You see a couple bolded yellow lines. Those are a couple steers that met early ends for one reason or another. So you can just ignore those cattle per se, but we want to leave them in there. Now, to the information that you've not been able to see before now, you can see column BT right here has total expenses throughout the entire project. Those are expenses that include clearly every one of your monthly bills. And also, if you recall, the value of your feeder calf when it came in, because that's an important expense. You could have sold that calf otherwise. That's an opportunity cost, as an economist might say. And so we need to assume the expense there. So that total expense includes the value of your feeder steer when it came in, plus all bills in the yard. The next column, again, you've seen some of these maybe if you've looked lately. You can see the date your animal shipped and what it weighed that day. Now that date might be a little inflated by fill or water or something of that nature, but it gives you some sense of the weight that calf left the yard at. You also see the harvest date in column BW. Again, we have 4 different harvest dates, I believe, actually throughout the project. So you can see where your calf harvest relative to your competitors. There's a plant ID column. For you, that may not mean a lot in this situation, but it's actually quite vital for Bailey and I as we calculate the data, because we have to make sure all of the various IDs correspond to one another, and all the plant data that we receive in various files and forms comes assigned to plant ID. So that's a very important data point for us. And as we scroll over, we start to get to those points that all of this culminates in is, how do we determine the value of the carcass derived from your steer? The really important columns. Column BZ has the hot carcass weight, the HCW. That's how much your carcass weighed as it came out of the kill floor and went into the cooler, hot carcass weight. They also give you an estimated live weight. That's just an estimate by the plant. That's going to be sometimes pretty close, sometimes not so much, but that's just a novel data point. The data point of importance is actual hot carcass weight in relative to the pounds that you'll get paid for. As we move over, CB, column CB, that's your marbling score. This is a vital column. This is going to be quite important for us, and you can see a lot of smalls, modest, a couple even slights, and those correspond to different quality grades. You can see column CC, that's your quality grade. That's a huge impact on how you get paid. So you see a lot of choice, a lot of prime cattle. The next column over, you see a lot of CAB cattle popping up. And so that's the nature of the quality grade and the premiums, if you have any, that are going to come from that, in particular if you had prime or CAB cattle. As we scroll over, you'll see ribeye area. It's a measure of muscle. You'll see 12th rib back fat, column CF, kidney, pelvic, and heart fat. All of those things work together to help determine yield grade, along with hot carcass weight. And so you can see in column CH, you have a calculated yield grade. You can see the top calf 80793, for example, has a calculated yield grade of 2.82, and you go all the way down. We have some that calculate less than 2. We have some that calculate over 4. But the USDA always just looks at the class of yield grades, meaning is it in class 1, class 2, class 3, class 4, class 5. And so when you look at column CI, USDA yield grade, you essentially drop everything past the decimal. So you can see we have a bunch of yield grade 2s, 3s. You can see only 1 or 2 4s, a number of yield grade 1s. That yield grade 1 combined with your quality grade and any particular premium you might get for CAB or prime and your hot carcass weight are going to be what determines the overall value of your carcass. Column CJ, right here, this column is the base carcass price on the day your animal was harvested. And you'll see there are 3 or 4 different base carcass weights depending upon the date of your calf's harvest, because the market goes up and down. And so the plants change that. But the lowest was 273, 100. The highest, I believe, was 288. I'm sorry, 288 was the highest base carcass weight that we had in this project. Then you make adjustments to your carcass price based on those things we just mentioned: quality grade, yield grade, potentially weight, and that's column CK. If you jump over to column CL, it's essentially the same thing, just reported in a per pound number that might resonate a little more with some of you. CM is a very important column in this project. You worked a lot of months to get to this point to know the total carcass value of your calf. And you can see these calves, the market is remarkably kind right now. And you can see every carcass, save 1 or 2, was valued well north of $2,000. That's an impressive situation. Both that speaks highly to the quality of your cattle, but it also speaks highly to where the market is. Now, you have to take off your beef checkoff expense, which is $1.50. You have to take off your freight. Every animal had a portion of its freight in the pot to get to the plant, and that varied by the kill date that they were involved in based on the number of head on the load, expensive fuel for that load, all those things. All these cattle were harvested at the same plant in Joslyn, Illinois, so the distance from Columbia, Missouri to Joslyn, Illinois was the same for every truck, but based on how full the trailer was or price of fuel at that time, there are slight differences as you scroll down, and you can see that. Also, you have to pay a small insurance fee for that truck. Column CQ and CR are relative to the grading components that keep you tracked to your carcass, meaning camber grading is using the instrument grading, and CR is tag transfer, meaning that if we're going to keep identification of your calves and be certain we get the data back on each of your calves, we have to pay an individual to be in that plant to track those things. And that costs us a little bit of money. So you can see that. So all of this boils down to the following. your final check, when you take into account total carcass value, minus those various expenses, just like every cattle feeder has. Column CS shows the check that you will receive for your cattle. That is the amount. But then if you recall, how did we determine the winners of the SPC? We take that value, we subtract away the total expenses from the column we looked at a few minutes ago that you accrued during this project, and that results in you either made money or you lost money. This year, as you probably know, prices are in some pretty historic highs. And so as a result, the vast majority on this project, the vast majority of cattle on this project not only made money, many made very significant money. And that's how we get to who are our top 10s, who are our top 10s overall. We actually have a couple different breed types involved. Obviously, we all know this is predominantly Simmental, but we actually have some friends from the Braunby Association that fed some cattle in here, and we'll talk about them as well. And then the last thing I would note before we wrap this piece up is you will see a few animals that here in column CV are listed as not eligible. What these are some of the producers' cattle that happen to be feeding alongside the juniors in the same pens. And so they were in these same data sheets, but they're not junior calves, and so they're not eligible for awards. Now, you can come back and scroll through columns CW, CX, CY, or Bailey, if it's okay with you, we'll jump over and we'll do it this way.
Perfect. Thank you, Chip. So as Chip is getting this pulled up, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with the assignment portion, and we'll go through who were the winners in those categories, and then we'll let Chip end it and give the overalls as you might have seen scrolling, but he'll give you in a little bit more grandiose way. So to start with the AJSA junior assignments, the third place was Reagan Scheich. Our second place was Weston Hawkins. And our first place junior went to Paisley Olson. And so then as we move on to our intermediate or our Braunby junior assignments. So our top Braunbys were in third place, Colt Pittman. In second place, Ella Dora. In first place, Grant Dora. And then we're going to go to the semi-intermediates. And again, starting at third place, we have Daniel Campbell. Second place, we have Davin Scheich. In first place, we have Jana Bloom. And then our Braunby intermediates. Our second place is Jalen Smith. And our first place is Ava Dora. And then on the senior side, our top semi-seniors, second place, Hayden Campbell. In first place, Lacey Schmidt. So congratulations to all of you in those individual age categories. So again, those are broken up as the age categories. But when we look at the overall, we compare all of you across the ages and how those grades looked. So in the top overalls, with both the semis and the Braunbys, our third place is Reagan Scheich. The reserve champion is Weston Hawkins. And no surprise then, our champion is Paisley Olson. Congratulations to all of you.
Congrats. That's a lot of work goes into getting to that point. And so I know Bailey and I would both commend all of you, and a huge congratulations to Weston and Paisley. That is no small feat at all.
And Chip, before you move on to the profitability side, just to make a quick note on the assignment piece between the webinars, the assignments, the live webinars, all of those pieces that go into those grades. You should know that almost 50% of you all, and there's a fair number of you all this year, almost 50% of the participants got a 90% or above. So it was a very tight, down to the top 11, I think. They were pushing it pretty hard, all within each other.
Very good. Now we'll go through the cattle themselves. And so we'll start with our Simmental group, our AJSA population. We'll look at the top 10 steers within that group. And again, this makes up the overwhelming majority of the steers on feed, as you probably assumed. In 10th place, Davin Shike of Illinois with his calf tagged 80835. That calf made $339.11. That's actual profit. Davin, you should know there are many, many years that the absolute top calves in this program don't even get close to that number. So might not feel good getting that 835 calf in the 10th spot, but that speaks tremendous. That is a heck of a number in a lot of years. Commercial cattle feeders or juniors in this program will be tickled to death to see that kind of number. Just mere pennies more, Jenna Dordery's 807 calf, you can see snuck a little closer to 340. In 8th place, Reagan Shike comes in, her 831 calf, just a few dollars higher, 346 and some change. 7th place, Reagan Shike sneaks another calf, 825. We got a pretty good jump there, $20 and some odd bumps us up as we go from 8th to 7th. Again, another big jump on another calf owned by Reagan. In 6th place, the 838 calf jumps us up again to 386. In 5th place, Paisley Olson, her 805 calf jumps up to just shy of $400 a profit. Again, ladies and gentlemen, remember, we are taking into account the actual value of the feeder calf at the same time. So this is real money. This is what you would have made on those, what you do make, what you will get a check for is in the profit that you get once you've put that check in the bank is, in this case, nearly $400. We sneak into the top 4. 4th place, Davin Shike sneaks another one in, 832 calf at 427. Another Shike, Rachel, pops on the board in 3rd place at 823 with a calf of $436 of overall profit. Our reserve champion steer from Jenna Dordery, her second one in the top 10, her 804 calf. Look at that jump. Just shy of $100 jump in terms of profit for that calf. Those of you who come from cattle feeding families, you know how rare those kind of dollars are. Mom and dad, if they're looking over your shoulder, they clearly know. So congratulations to Jen on that reserve champion steer. And the overall champion for the AJSA group, Rachel Shike's 833 calf. Look at that, $553 in profit. That's pretty impressive, Bailey. Now, we're going to jump over to the Braunvig group. Again, a much smaller group, but we want to say thank you for them joining along with us this year. We always welcome other breed types to feed with our juniors. It makes us all better and all stronger, and plus it grows our ability to market these cattle most effectively. And so we say thank you for them joining us. Because of the smaller numbers, we're going to recognize the top 5 from that group. In 5th place, Ella Dora's 811 calf. Again, look at that number, 374 profit. Congratulations for that, Ella. In 4th place, Annie Basinger's 820 calf, just a penny higher, a penny. See that?
Couldn't get much closer.
Yeah. Ava Dora in 3rd place, 818, 410, 51. Your reserve champion, Lennon Lister, calf 808. That calf jumped up $20 to $430 in terms of profit. And your overall champion for the Braunvig group, Jalen Smith's 817 calf with $464 and some change in actual profit. We'll jump over to the pins of 3. We have quite a few more of those in the Simmental group, and so you'll see some deeper results for our AGSA population. In 5th place, Paisley Olson, her pin of 3, the overall profit across those 3, $800.64. Congratulations, Paisley. In 4th, Davin Shike, $960. 3rd place, Rachel Shike. Look at that, $1,019.25. That is huge profit on 3 steers. Your reserve champion rounds out the Shikes family's participation and strong representation here in the champions. Reagan Shike, $1,100 and a pin of 3 in terms of actual profit. And your overall champion, huge congratulations to Jenna Dordery, nearly $1,200 in profit across 3 head. That's quite impressive, and that is a record number for the steer profitability competition since its inception. We only had one pin of 3 represented in our Bronby group, but we want to recognize, and you can see the numbers are very strong for the pin that Jalen Smith had. 1066 is an impressive number. And so when we combine all of those together, and we put our top pins of 3 together, you can see that Jalen Smith's pin comes in 3rd, Reagan Scheitz, your overall reserve champion, and Jenna Dordery is your champion on the pin of 3. So, ladies and gentlemen, we just say thank you so very much for the opportunity to work with you on this project. I know Bailey and I welcome any questions, thoughts, feedback that you might have. And feel free, you know how to reach out to Bailey from previous things. Remember, the checks will go out to you very soon, but only once the bills are paid. So if you have an outstanding bill, you need to make sure you get settled up with that. So with that, Bailey, what words of wisdom and encouragement and appreciation do you have for the young folks before we leave?
I think you captured it pretty well. I thank all of them for participating this year, for all their work on the assignments, their work getting the calves ready before they came. And I would echo what you just mentioned on billing. As simple as it might seem for us to simply deduct whatever bills you may have from your check, we cannot do that. We must have those bills paid before we can send those checks out. So please make sure you're paying attention. Those last round of bills should be hopefully in your inbox by now. You should have seen them. If not, you should be seeing them extremely soon after this video. So make sure that you're paying attention to those coming through, get those paid, get those dealt with. If you have any questions, reach out. We'll get any questions you have handled, and we'll get those checks out to you soon.
Thank you all very much, and congratulations again to the winners. Well deserved, and we've enjoyed the opportunity, and we look forward to even talking to you some more. So thank you very much, and thank you, Bailey, for all your hard work on this project.
Thank you, Chip.